Patrick Henry Pearse. Padraig Pearse was a central figure in the Irish nationalist movement and a key leader of the 1916 Easter Rising. Born on November the 10th, 1879 in Dublin, to an English father and Irish mother, Pearse was deeply influenced by Irish cultural nationalism from a young age. Pearse was a passionate advocate for the Irish language and culture. He became involved with the Gaelic League, eventually serving on its executive committee and editing its newspaper. His commitment to education led him to establish St Edna's School in 1908, a bilingual institution emphasising Irish traditions and language. The Murder Machine, a pamphlet criticising the British educational system in Ireland. Pearse's political activism intensified with his involvement in the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Republican Brotherhood. He played a pivotal role in planning the Easter Rising and was the primary author of the proclamation of the Irish Republic. On Easter Monday, April 24th, 1916, Pearse read the proclamation outside the General Post Office, GPO, in Dublin, marking the start of the uprising. He served as the President of the Provisional Government and Commandant General during the rebellion. Following the suppression of the rising, Pearse surrendered on April the 29th, 1916. He was court-martialed and executed by firing squad on May the 3rd, 1916, at the age of 36. His brother Willie Pearse was also executed the following day. Pearse's martyrdom significantly influenced Irish public opinion and became a symbol of the struggle for independence. Pearse's legacy endures in Ireland's cultural and political history. His writings, educational reforms and leadership during the Easter Rising have cemented his status as a national icon. Commemorations include the 1966 10-shilling coin featuring his likeness, issued to mark the 50th anniversary of the Rising. Patrick Pearse, the poet who died for Ireland. In the heart of Dublin, on a grey Easter Monday in 1916, a man stood at the steps of the General Post Office. His voice was steady, his hands shaking, only slightly, as he read aloud the words that would change the course of Irish history. In the name of God and of the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood. The man was Patrick Pearse, teacher, poet, revolutionary. For years he had dreamed of this moment, and in just 6 days he would be dead. Patrick Henry Pearse was not born a soldier. He came into the world on November the 10th, 1879, in a modest house on Great Brunswick Street, Dublin. His father, an English stonemason, was a Protestant who loved art and myth. His mother was a devout Irish Catholic. From her, Patrick absorbed a fierce pride in Irish heritage. From his father, he inherited a love of words. As a boy, Patrick was quiet, thoughtful, drawn more to books than games. He discovered the legends of Cuchulainn and Fiona MacConnell, and in them he saw not just ancient heroes, but symbols of a proud, unbroken Irish soul. At just 16, Pearse joined the Gaelic League, determined to revive the Irish language. Before long, he was editing its newspaper and walking the countryside to learn Irish from the few remaining native speakers. But Pearse was more than a cultural idealist. He was a man haunted by a question. Could Ireland ever be free while it remained under the shadow of the British Empire? By 1908 he had founded St Edna's School, a place not like no other in Ireland. It was bilingual, nationalist and full of idealism. The students were taught history, Irish, poetry and patriotism. Pearse told them that a free Ireland would not be built by politics alone, but by hearts willing to suffer for it. But time was running out. The British were at war in Europe, and Pearse saw a narrow window for Ireland to rise. Secretly, he joined the Irish Republican Brotherhood, a shadowy group that had waited decades for revolution. As 1916 approached, Pearse helped plan a rebellion alongside men like James Connolly, Tom Clark and Joseph Plunkett. Their plan was daring, desperate, to seize key locations in Dublin, declare independence and inspire a nation to follow. Pearse would be the voice of the rising, the man who would speak for the dead generations. On Easter Monday, April the 24th, 1916, Dublin awoke to gunfire. Pearse and his comrades stormed the GPO and declared an Irish Republic. Outside, civilians stared in confusion. Some cheered, others jeered. Inside the GPO, Pearse stood calm in his command. He had never fought in a battle before, never killed a man, but he believed that blood, his blood, might water the seeds of freedom. Day after day the city burned and cracked under British artillery. The rebels held on, but supplies ran low. The people began to turn on them. By Saturday, Pearse knew the cause was lost. At 3:30 p.m. on April the 29th, Pearse made a decision that would seal his fate. He wrote a letter of surrender to the British commander. In order to prevent the further slaughter of the civilian population, we now desire to surrender unconditionally. He walked through the smoke-stained streets, white flag in hand. He was taken to Kilmainham Gaol, where he faced a military court. There was no real trial, no lawyers, only questions, answers, and the sentence of death. On the night before his execution, Pearse wrote to his mother, "This is the death I should have asked for, if God had given me the choice. Mother, you will be proud of me in your sorrow, won't you?" At dawn on May the 3rd, 1916, Patrick Pearse stood in the prison yard, facing a firing squad. He was just 36 years old. The shots rang out, the poet fell, and Ireland wept. But something strange happened in the days that followed. One by one, the rebel leaders were executed. Tom Clark, Joseph Plunkett, James Connolly. Until the people who had cursed the rising began to reverse its martyrs. Pearse, who once stood alone reading a forgotten proclamation to a silent crowd, now stood at the heart of a national awakening. Ireland did not rise in 1916, but within 6 years it would break free from the British Empire. And on statues, coins and school books, the name Patrick Pearse would live on, not just as a teacher or a rebel, but as the man who dreamed Ireland into being and gave his life to make it real. Right, okay, everyone. So that was just a test. A short story test, yeah. I could have done a little bit more than I did. But as I say, it's just testing it out. And see how it goes. And then hopefully I can do some more. And it's gone 9 o'clock now, so yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll just see how it goes. Right, okay. Good night for now. Thank you.